Okay, so we're going to look in my encyclopedia of Star Wars. I love this guide. It's really good. It's got all kinds of good information in here. And we're going to take a look in because the thing is with the Death Star, it's a pretty influential part of Star Wars. And I thought, let's just read through it. All I have here is a page for the original Death Star. Now we have to get this all clear. The Death Star was created, then destroyed, and then recreated. So let's talk about the first time the Death Star was talked about. So I'm going to read this, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. So it said, with the embers of rebellion simmering in the Empire, Grand Moff Wilhuf Tarkin believes fear will keep its many planets in line. Who would dare stand against the Death Star with its power to destroy entire worlds? So this is definitely a weapon that they were preparing. Even before the birth of the Empire, preparations for its ultimate weapon are underway. On Geonosis, engineers are working at the behest of Sith Lord Darth Sidious to create the first designs of the Death Star. When Jedi Knights and clone troopers attack the planet, beginning with Clone Wars, Count Dooku retrieves the designs for safekeeping in the hands of the Sith. By the time the war ends and Sidious has declared himself Emperor, the battle station's construction begins in secret above Geonosis, under Director Orson Krennic, and then Admiral Tarkin's supervision. So this story starts to take all kinds of interesting direction. Let's take a look here under construction. So while construction continues over Geonosis, work soon begins on the weapon itself. Krennic coerces his friend, scientist Galen Erso, to weaponize Kyber crystals for the Death Star's super laser. While Galen feigns loyalty to the project, he secretly plans a devastating fault in the reactor system that could be used to destroy the entire station. Galen creates a hollow recording explaining his actions and urging the Rebel Alliance to steal the Death Star plans from the Citadel on Scarif. Erso then persuades Imperial pilot Bodhi Rook to pass the hollow recording to his old friend Saw Gerrera, who then gives it to Galen's daughter, Jyn. Now, testing the weapon, the Empire learns that Bodhi has defected and traveled to Jedha City, so Tarkin orders a partial test of the Death Star's weapon on the location. The city is completely destroyed. When the Rebel Alliance attacks Scarif, Tarkin orders the Death Star to fire upon the Imperial facility containing the Death Star plans, but the destruction fails to stop the Alliance. Rebel Princess Leia is captured and brought to the Death Star, where Tarkin forces her to witness the destruction of her homeworld, Alderaan, killing billions. So, escaping the Death Star, the Millennium Falcon crew, Han Solo and Chewbacca, are hired to bring Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, and C-3PO to Alderaan. However, they are shocked to discover that Alderaan has been blasted to rubble. Soon after, they are caught in a tractor beam and pulled into a docking bay aboard the Death Star. Amazingly, they avoid capture. After Obi-Wan parts company with the others to shut down the tractor beam, R2-D2 learns that Princess Leia is imprisoned on the Death Star and scheduled for execution. Luke, Chewbacca, and Han hastily launch a rescue mission. They manage to free Leia, but the arrival of stormtroopers forces them all to dive into a chute that empties into a trash compactor. Fortunately, R2-D2 and C-3PO shut down the compactor before it crushes their human compatriots. Luke and Han rush Leia back to the Falcon while Obi-Wan disables the tractor beam. However, when the former Jedi attacks to rejoin his allies back at the ship, he encounters Darth Vader, who engages him in a duel. To ensure that Luke, Leia, and the others escape, Obi-Wan allows Vader to strike him down, becoming one with the Force. This is a big scene. Everybody remembers it. And Obi-Wan just gave himself up there. And so the Death Star's primary weapon combines multiple laser beams to form a single massive blast. But two small proton torpedoes fired down a thermal exhaust port merely 2 meters, which is about 6 feet 6 inches wide, above bottom proved catastrophic for the battle station. So now we'll move on to the second part, and you'll see the Death Star 2. Okay, so in the first part, Death Star 1 is destroyed, and then another one is built. So Emperor Palpatine, he constructs the second Death Star, in part as an elaborate ruse. He hopes to destroy the Rebel Alliance by pretending there's a critical vulnerability in the battle station and luring the rebels into a conflict they cannot win. After the Alliance learns of the station's existence, thanks to Crimson Dawn agents, the Emperor devises a plan to let Bothan spies obtain false information about the progress and status of its construction. The rebels presume the battle station's super laser will not be in operation at this stage, while in fact it is. During the Battle of Endor, Palpatine surprises the rebels by ordering the Death Star to fire on one of the large Mon Calamari cruisers. However, once the rebel strike team manages to destroy the shield generator on Endor that protects the Death Star, a small flight team led by General Lando Calrissian on the Millennium Falcon is able to navigate to the battle station's main reactor core and destroy it. Meanwhile, Luke Skywalker barely escapes after his father, Darth Vader, sacrifices himself to destroy the Emperor and save his son. After its destruction, Death Star 2 debris falls on Kef Bir, the ocean moon of Endor. It's visited decades later by Rey. The second Death Star is significantly larger than the first. Its diameter is more than 200 kilometers, which is about 124 miles, compared to the original battle station's 160 kilometers, or 99 miles. In fact, the Death Star is nearly 3% the size of the moon of Endor itself. Since the Death Star is stationary and not in a synchronous orbit, it requires tremendous force to counter Endor's gravity. It utilizes a repulsor lift field created by the shield generator on Endor to maintain its position. The force generated by the Death Star creates earthquakes, tidal imbalances, and other geological disturbances on the surface below. The Death Star has considerable defenses. Batteries include a complement of 15,000 heavy turbo lasers, 15,000 standard turbo lasers, 15,000 heavy turbo lasers, and 15,000 standard turbo lasers. Wow, okay, that makes more sense. 7,500 laser cannons and 5,000 ion cannons, all of which are installed on the station's outer surface. Thousands of TIE fighters of various models are ready to deploy at all times, in addition to shuttles and ground assault vehicles, such as AT-ATs and AT-STs. So, that's the story. It's a much bigger, but a part of it was also to get, the Rebel Alliance, to get them over here and destroy them in full. So this is what the plan was to happen. Of course, this was destroyed as well. And so now we move on to, just after getting a little bit of information here about Death Star 1 and Death Star 2, Lego started getting involved in making models of these, and I'll get into that just right away here. So just wrote these down, some little notes here, and my source for this is Brick Economy. So the first Death Star was came out by Lego in 2005. It's called Death Star 2, and it had 3,441 pieces. It retailed at $364.49. The current value of that one, according to the Brick Economy, is $3,580.09. It was about 25 inches high, 19 inches wide. And it was like a partially constructed sphere, so it has more of that sphere planet look. The second time a set was released was June 2008, and it retired in 2015, and it had 3,803 pieces, but this incorporated also minifigs, so it had 24 minifigs, and its retail price was $499.99, and its value now is $1,282.49. The third time it was released was October 2016, and it retired in November 2020. And that set had 27 minifigs. It retailed at $599.99. The value is $1,906.70. And it had rooms from Episode 4, A New Hope, and Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. So, trying to present, so really it's a Death Star 1 and 2 in parts. And I think that's what happened with this new release, the set 75419-1. And that one was released in October 1st, 2025, with 9,023 pieces, 38 minifigs, and a price of $1,000 US and 1,300 Canadian, and that will be October 1st release for that set. And it's quite different than the other ones because it's like a half, not even a half sphere. It's mainly made for playability because there's a lot of pieces on it, but there's nothing like a sphere part. So it's just like a front end that shows all the parts inside of the sphere. And it's going to be interesting to see what people think of it. Okay, so my objective here was just to sort of bring out a little bit of background information of this Death Star and why it's so important in the Star Wars saga. So as you can see, it's going to be quite the replica, and there's, it's quite a large unit because you can see that there's over 9,000 pieces here, and that's a lot of work to put that together. So, I mean, it's going to be pretty exciting. The question is, what are people going to think? And, the back part of this, like I said, it's not a full sphere. Like some of the others, it was like a sphere. So it would try to represent the partial completion of the Death Star. This one is more playability, and you can see all the different compartments in here and all the minifigs. So I think that makes it more playable and fun. And what I'm doing too is I just wanted you to go and take a look at two guys that I respect a lot, Solid Brick Studios. They're on YouTube as well, and M&R Productions. I always liked him. He's gotten in the bad books of Lego a little bit, but he's always got great things to say about it. He still follows Lego closely, still a big Star Wars fan, and he has a video on it as well. So you can go and take a look at those guys and get a thorough review, and also listen to Lego and what their thoughts were on designing and all the different aspects of designing and building, etc. Will Jules buy it? It's a question. For me, $1,300, that's a lot of money. And not sure. I think I'm going to feel it out, see what people think, and we'll see. I know one thing. It'll be out for quite a while. They're not going to open this and close it really quickly because this is sort of their big set. I don't know if they'll ever come out with something again this size. So will I get it? Maybe. Or it might be a combined birthday, Christmas, I don't know, Father's Day. A whole bunch of gifts piled in one. You never know. Anyway, let's see how it goes and let's see what happens on October 1st. So just thought I'd share some feelings about this, and you never know. Anyway, go and take a look at some of these guys and see what they think. And talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.